Yo, yo, yo. Peace and blessings is real. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters. We must first acknowledge our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, through His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, for allowing His word to come out. And I hope you sincere, brothers and sisters, man, is truly edified by tonight's word. In tonight's word, we're going to name this word, once you become a certain age, you got to know when to leave the sandbox. Say it again. The name of the night's word is, once you become a certain age, you got to know when to leave the sandbox. Okay? What you see on the screen is a beautiful example of a sandbox. And who do you see in that sandbox? A child. Okay? That's all you see is a child. So if you're a grown-ass man or woman, you should not ever be caught in this sandbox. But what you're going to learn in this word tonight, a lot of us grown-ass men and women have the mentality of someone that's playing in the sandbox, okay? Which is very disturbing. In tonight's word, we're going to separate the lie from the jive. We're going to separate the adult from the child, okay? And what I realized today, when you communicate and interact with most people your age, what I'm finding out is a lot of these people have not left the sandbox. You know, a lot of people are 35 years, late of leaving the sandbox. If you're an adult, if you're 45 years old, you should have left the sandbox about 40, at least 35 years ago. You should have left the sandbox, bro. So in this word tonight, man, I want to expound on this a little bit. In 1 Corinthians 13 and 11, it says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child and thought like a child. But once I became an adult, I put away childish things. Okay? So when you was a child, you spoke like a child. In other words, you spoke like a child, like a child would speak, and your thought process was just like a child because that was the capacity. Your capacity was not that deep because you was a child. Your conversation was not that deep because you was a child. Okay? But it says, once I became an adult, I put away childish things. So when you a child, man, you do a lot of childish things, and you're in your right jurisdiction to do so. Some of the things that you do as a child, we all that's grown men and women remember the things we did as a child. Going to the playground, that's always going to be a great childhood memory. And what's one of the greatest childhood memories that you remember? At the playground and at the sandbox. So when you're a child, you take advantage of that. That's what you're supposed to do. But it become a time you get a certain age, man, you got to know when to leave the sandbox. You got to know when to leave the playground. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of adults today, okay, have not left the sandbox. You got 45, 55-year-old men and women still in the sandbox, man. There is no reason why you should be in the sandbox with this little girl. But it's a lot of grown-ass people that still hang in that sandbox, man. It's utterly ridiculous. What am I saying? Symbolically, when I say that a lot of grown people are still in that sandbox, we're talking about the immature, childish, toddler spirit, which has ruined a lot of grown-ass folks out here. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these so-called adults got a childish toddler demon on them. You dig? There's no reason why you 55 years old but you still in the sandbox. You still at the playground at 55 years old. Utterly ridiculous, man. Just because you 45 years old of age don't make you mature, brothers and sisters. Let me say it again. Just because you 45 years of age don't make you a mature adult. Because it's a lot of 45-year-old adults out here still got an 18-year-old's mentality, man. Unreal. Unreal. You got a lot of adults that got the brain of a toddler. That's why they're glitching so bad. That's why there's so many disconnects in the conversation when man and woman, try to have a conversation amongst one another. What's the name of the lesson tonight, man? Once you become a certain age, you got to know when to leave the sandbox. And like I said before, a lot of us grown ass men and women and in the sandbox. You should not be in the sandbox with this little girl. But a lot of y'all right in there playing with her. And that's a problem. Because again, 1 Corinthians 13 and 11, it tells you, man. When I was a child, I spoke like a child and thought like a child. But once I became an adult, I put away childish things. You see that? So once you become an adult, you're supposed to been deviated and left the playground. You're supposed to been left and deviated from the sandbox. But that ain't what's happening today. You got a lot of grown ass people still in that sandbox. Yeah. Could you imagine? I'm 48 years old, right? Imagine me being 48 years old, instead of running my business or instead of working a job, I'm at the playground in the sandbox all day. The very, very first adult that come and see me in the damn sandbox, they're going to look at me like I'm crazy. And that's exactly what it looks like from my vantage point. When I'm talking to another adult, their immature level is so ridiculous. The only way I can metaphorically explain it to you is I'm talking to someone that's in the sandbox. Someone that has never left the sandbox. And that's what's going on today, man. We're talking about men and women. We all know as kids, it was one sandbox rule. And that one sandbox rule as a kid was what, y'all? Play fair. That was the rule. Play fair. As a kid, when you played in the sandbox, you play fair. Okay? Well, guess what? The individuals as kids that didn't play fair in the sandbox, those same individuals today that's grown as hell is still in the sandbox breaking the rules. Cold-blooded, man. Cold-blooded. Like I said, when you're an adult and you find yourself dealing with an immature adult, the revelation that should come to your mind is the person that you're talking to never left the sandbox. They never left the playground. So you have to deviate from that situation, man. And that's real. As we get ready to close out the word again, what's the name of the lesson? Once you become a certain age, you got to know when to leave the sandbox, man. You got to. I hope you sincere brothers and sisters, man, was edified by tonight's word. I hope this word was nourishing of the soul. I hope y'all was truly edified. I hope y'all was able to keep up with me, metaphorically speaking. Okay? As a grown man and woman, your ass should not be seen in the sandbox. But metaphorically speaking, a lot of y'all grown ass men and women still in the sandbox, man. And I can't relate to you. I can't do nothing for you, but leave your ass right there and not say nothing to you, man. Shalom.